Mr. President says that we are pushing policies to attract investment in the oil and gas sector.
President Tinubu seeks collaboration with the National Assembly to reshape Nigeria's economy.
This is the first presence of the Railway Corporation in the South Nigeria.
Another milestone as federal government inaugurates train services from Port Harcourt to Aba.
As managers, we will all be the drivers of this change that will ultimately improve the performance of NTA and enable NTA to achieve its targets.
Federal government's performance bond on course in NTA as organization domesticates performance management system. Good evening and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Reading with me tonight is Adiola Komiakeri in Lagos. And our busy businessman, Benny Adams, will bring us some business reports. Don't forget to follow us live on our website, nt.ng/live, NT News Now on X and other social platforms displayed on the screen. The federal government has approved an increase of between 25% and 35% in salary increase for civil servants on the remaining 6 consolidated salary structures. For salary structures are consolidated public service salary structure, consolidated research and allied institution salary structure, consolidated police salary structure, consolidated paramilitary salary structure, consolidated intelligence community salary structure, and consolidated armed forces salary structure. It will be recalled that those in the tertiary education and health sectors had already received their increments, which involved consolidated university academic salary structure and consolidated tertiary institutions salary structure for universities. For polytechnics, the colleges of education as well, it involved the consolidated polytechnics and colleges of education academic staff salary structure and consolidated tertiary educational institutions salary structure. The health sector also benefited through the consolidated medical salary structure and consolidated health sector salary structure. A statement signed by the head of Press, National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, Emmanuel Njoko, says the increments take effect from 1st of January 2024. The federal government has also approved increments in salary, in pension, of between 20% and 28% for pensioners on a defined benefit scheme in respect of the above-mentioned 6 consolidated salary structures with effect from 1st of January 2024. And the federal government has declared Wednesday, 1st of May 2024, public holiday to commemorate this year's Workers' Day. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, who made the declaration in a statement, reiterated the need for excellence, efficiency, and equity in all spheres of labor. While acknowledging the contributions of workers, he reaffirmed federal government's commitment to fostering a culture of innovation, productivity, and inclusivity in the workplace. Now, President Bola Tinubu is soliciting the support of the National Assembly to implement critical reforms in the nation's oil and gas sector to make it globally competitive, as well as a propeller for economic growth. Represented by his Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, at the opening of a 2-day retreat for members of the House of Representatives, President Tinubu emphasized that the executive and legislature share a common responsibility in shaping the future of the nation. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikme brings us details.
This retreat for 360 lawmakers at the instance of the leadership of the House of Representatives is anchored on the theme Navigating Change, Legislative Strategies for Economic Transformation. The focus is to enlighten lawmakers on strategies for implementing the Petroleum Industry Act, which everyone agrees is critical to reforming the oil and gas industry. For the government, reforms are ongoing to unlock the potentials of the oil and gas sector, and executive-legislative synergy cannot be overemphasized.
Mr. President says that we are pushing policies to attract investment in the oil and gas sector. He wants me to remind you that recently, He signed an executive order to unlock about $10 billion in fresh investments in the sector. This will happen through fiscal incentives for non-associated gas, midstream and deepwater oil and gas developments. We will need, Mr. President says, the support of the National Assembly to fully implement some of these reforms, as statutory changes will be required in some areas.
The legislature, on its part, is ready to aid the president's economic reforms, especially in enacting laws that will strengthen tax administration.
The People's House is ready to collaborate closely with the executive to enact targeted legislative interventions to address our current challenges and capitalize on new opportunities.
This retreat is designed to be a springboard for action. By its conclusion, we aim to achieve a multi-pronged outcome.
Legislative strategies will play a pivotal role in navigating the changes and seizing the opportunities that lie ahead.
The retreat is expected to provide a clear roadmap for legislative roles and oversight in implementing the Petroleum Industry Act. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Away from the oil and gas sector, the House of Representatives calls for the establishment of a dedicated fund to provide safety and security of children in schools. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, conversed this at the resumption of plenary after a 40-day recess for the Easter and Salah holidays. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikben once again brings us details.
Lawmakers exchange banters at resumption of plenary, excited at moving back to the main chamber for plenary after 21 months of renovation. The Speaker's opening remarks set the tone as the House condemned the spate of terrorist attacks on schools this year, while affirming support for the security forces to nip the challenges in the bud.
Schools, which should be sanctuaries of learning and safety, have become targets for terrorists and kidnappers. These acts are not only heinous, but are direct attacks on the future of Nigeria and rob children of their right to education and secure childhood. We will not allow the ambitions of our children to be thwarted by fear. The House stands united with the armed forces and will advocate for comprehensive strategies to safeguard our schools.
Adopting a motion of urgent public importance, the House resolved to summon the Minister of Petroleum Resources and industry stakeholders to brief lawmakers on measures being put in place to address the current fuel scarcity and avert reoccurrence. The House also requested the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to suspend the recently announced tariff hike affecting Band A customers, pending an investigation by the legislature. House has adjourned plenary to 7th May 2024. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the 10th National Assembly has pledged commitment through purposeful legislations to facilitate collaboration with the Ministry of Information and National Orientation in its renewed vigor towards national rebirth. This was when members of the House of Representatives Committee on Information visited the ministry's headquarters at Radio House, Abuja. Salihu Gwanara reports.
But I have taken this cry to Mr. President, and he has assured that it can never be like this again.
It is the first oversight duty by members of the committee to the ministry under the watch of Mohammed Idris since August 2023. Members scrutinized the ministry's 2023 and 2024 budget documents and took a unanimous decision to support the Ministry of Information and National Orientation with a supplementary budget for an upward review of the ministry's recurrent and capital expenditure in view of its objective of national reorientation.
One of the cardinal objectives that this ministry is focusing on now is the restoration of trust between those who are elected and Nigerians who have elected them. And that can only be achieved when Nigerians are being told what they think, and in their judgment, is honest, it is accountable, it is transparent, and something that they can fact check. In the new Ministry of Information and National Orientation, every information that we are provided to Nigerians are facts-based.
We will still discuss with the Honorable Speaker to see how they can help this ministry, at least to get something on the supplementary budget that will coming very soon. And 2025 budget too, we will ensure that something better is coming to this ministry.
Members assured more support to the efficient and professional information management style of the minister, Mohammed Idris, and hope that it will be sustained to facilitate the positive turnaround for the good of the nation. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Now, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says finding sustainable solutions to the challenges of Nigeria require collective efforts. This is while welcoming lawmakers back to plenary after 6 weeks of recess. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the 10th Assembly senators, for the first time since their inauguration in June 2023, held plenary in the main chamber, which has been remodeled.
The last time they held plenary was on 20th March. The excitement was obvious, meeting for plenary and in the redesigned Red Chamber, which many of them are stepping into for the first time. After exchange of pleasantries, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, redirected attention to their responsibilities of working towards a better future for Nigerians.
The loss of our soldiers remind us of the grave threats we still face from insecurity and terrorism. The tragic explosion of tanker in Port Harcourt, claiming innocent lives, causing widespread devastation, highlights the urgency of addressing safety measures and ensuring the well-being of our citizens. The increase in electricity tariffs and prices of petroleum products emphasize the pressing need to address issues of affordability, inflation.
Thereafter, plenary continued behind closed doors, which lasted for hours. All items on the order paper were stepped down in honor of late Senator Ayogu Eze, who represented Enugu North from 2007 to 2015.
His death is a great loss to his family, the Senate, the people of his central district, and the Enugu State Government.
Plenary has been adjourned to May 7, 2024. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Talking security, the 19 northern governors at the end of the meeting in Kaduna State commended President Bola Tinubu for demonstrating commitment to winning the war against terrorism, banditry and kidnapping across the country. The chairman of the forum, Inuwa Yaya, says the governors have resolved to take measures in addressing issues of poverty and out-of-school children in the region. Mohammed Umar Ajingi reports.
The governors of Borno, Gombe State, Katsina and others arriving for another meeting of the Northern Governors Forum. Their mission is to find a lasting solution to the lingering challenges of poverty and insecurity looming over their region.
Today's meeting, dear colleagues, afford us an opportunity to look at our successes and challenges so far in the war against terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and fashion new strategies.
After spending several hours deliberating on ways to end a number of challenges confronting the region, the forum appreciates the support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the fight against insecurity in the region.
The forum commended the federal government under the dynamic focus and courageous leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, which has demonstrated total commitment to winning the war against terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and other forms of criminality.
The chairman of the forum, Inuwa Yahya, also responded to questions on the minimum wage increment which is on the negotiation table.
So whatever minimum wage is recommended will be subject to how each state, now considering its peculiarities, decides to implement it.
The forum, during their deliberations, also received a report from the Board of Trustees of Arewa Consultative Forum and a coalition of northern groups to speak with one voice on issues affecting the region.
Came up with certain recommendations on how to solve the insecurity problem in northern Nigeria, and so we briefed them about the content of that report.
The Northern Governors Forum has resolved to be meeting quarterly. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umarajingi, NTA News.
You're watching the Network News on NTA. Time to take a break. The news continues shortly. You're still watching the Network News on NTA. To bilateral matters, Nigeria and Japan are strengthening cooperation to address the root causes of terrorism, the issue of Boko Haram in the northeastern part of Nigeria, and instability in the Sahel region, among other areas of economic and trade relations. Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tugar and his Japanese counterpart Kami Kawayoko agreed to increase the frequency of trade volume of both countries. Yusuf Tugar received the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan in Abuja.
Agreed on the crucial need for all stakeholders to show up efforts towards combating the ugly menace of terrorism within the region. On her part, the Japanese Foreign Minister has assured of the continued support of her government towards ending the crisis within the region. Other issues centered on cooperation between Nigeria and Japan at international fora.
Countries have shared goals on the reform of the United Nations, nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation of weapons, as well as advocacy on women, peace and security. So far, Nigeria considers Japan a strong ally in bilateral relations. Following the MOU signed by civil society organizations, Community Advancement and Humanitarian Empowerment Initiative with the United Nations Institute for Training and Research in Geneva recently, leaders of civil society organizations converged on Abuja to strategize on how the documents signed can translate to economic prosperity. Here are details of the meeting. As they continue to play complementary roles in nation building, civil society organizations and other non-governmental organizations in Nigeria are leveraging development opportunities to align Nigeria on the right path to achieve Global Agenda 30. DG CSCHEI Kunle Yusuf, who applauded the federal government for friendly citizens policies put in place, insists that monitoring of the 2024 budget implementation is sacrosanct for transparency.
We strongly identify with the education, support intervention, student loan. We are calling on government to make this scheme robust, transparent, accessible to all needs Nigerians, to enable us generate pool of educated young people within the necessary technical and managerial skill needed to galvanize the next generation and sustain the present momentum on the path of sustainable development goal.
Representatives of CSOs believe the agreement signed, which stands for 3 years, will help remove bottlenecks in meeting SDG targets.
This particular agreement will push Nigeria forward economically and give us a better living for all.
We are going to actually make use of this platform judiciously to really, set the pace for the kind of development we actually, envisage, in the country.
Issues bordering on education, electricity tariff, and mitigation strategies for climate change were part of issues discussed at the meeting. To electrification, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has deregulated the prices of meters deployed under the Meter Asset Provider Scheme, MAP, with effect from May 1, 2024. The Commission says this is to enable customers acquire meters from MAPs of their choice based on competitive open market prices. determined from transparent bidding frameworks. In an order signed by the chairman of Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sanusi Garba, NEC states that the deregulation also follows the request made by the meter asset providers, local meter manufacturers and assemblers for a further review of meter prices in consideration of significant changes in foreign exchange rates and inflation rates, which constrained their ability to supply meters at the approved regulated price. The Commission says it notes the need for the efficient pricing of meters to respond more quickly to changes in macroeconomic parameters, particularly exchange rates. By this order, all electricity distribution companies are to ensure the effective and seamless integration of smart meters deployed by meter asset providers with DISCO's head-end systems and meter data management systems. The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, has launched the Federal Government Performance Bond, making it one of the agencies of government to first domesticate the performance management system. Charles Alpha reports that the hybrid training was organized for NTA staff on grade level 14 and above.
The acronym PMS is the Performance Bond, also known as the Performance Management System, or key performance indicators, designed to measure performance of ministries, departments and agencies of government. This is what the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, has launched and ready to adopt to become operational in line with the federal government's mandate for improved and efficient service delivery in the public service.
As managers, we will all be the drivers of this change that will ultimately improve the performance of NTA and enable NTA to achieve its targets. You either key in or you key out.
The federal government introduced the performance management system, which is going to be a more frequent type of appraisal of the performance of staff. And that is what we are giving life to today.
The Office of the Head of Service of the Federation commended NTA for being the first agency of government to adopt the performance bond.
I'm happy when I see that you are projecting your core values. The pillar I was sitting there, I saw the core values. So when people don't know the mission, the vision, the core value of an organization, they are likely not to go the same direction that the organization is going.
General Manager, NTA International and Chairman, PMS Implementation Committee, NTA, Oganya Simon, said staff performance evaluation will now be based on the PMS quarterly as against the annual appraisal by the organization.
PMS just sets about to make sure that employees and resources are all geared towards achieving those goals.
Emphasis of speakers at the training was on accountability, ethics and value reorientation. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Let's shift attention to rail transportation. The Minister of Transportation, Ahmed Alkali, has flagged off operations at the Harcourt-Aba train service in fulfillment of federal government's promise to resume operations there. Kingsley Amaju witnessed the flag-off ceremony and now reports.
The Eastern Rail Service once played a major role in the transportation sector, especially from the south-south through Enugu. The first phase of the rehabilitation from Port Harcourt to Aba, after many years of breakdown, has finally seen the light of the day. Minister of Transportation Ahmed Alkali says this reality is a demonstration of renewed hope for Nigerians. He added that the second phase will witness opening of Aba, Enugu, and linking of two ports to the train network.
This is the first presence of the railway corporation in the south Nigeria. So we are prepared. We are going to ride on the train from Port Harcourt to Aba, and from today the passenger train will commence. By the grace of God Almighty, from Aba we are going to proceed to Enugu, and from Port Harcourt to One Port and Port Harcourt Port, so that we'll be able to put freight service in the corridor.
He assured that the train is equipped to operate optimally to serve the public better. The train is to operate Tuesdays to Saturdays from 8 a.m. Port Harcourt-Aba and 3 p.m. Aba to Port Harcourt. The price for the first class seat is 1,500 naira, while second class seat is 800 naira. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
And to speak more on the train services along that corridor is the Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation, Mr. Fidet Ohiria. Mr. Ohiria, thank you so much for joining us on the Network News.
Good evening and thank you. Happy to be here.
Port Harcourt-Aba train services on the narrow gauge is a promise delivered. How will these services run?
Service will commence tomorrow after we have done some trial runs for taking us about 2 weeks. So tomorrow we continue with the trial run with a trip from Port Harcourt to Aba by 8 and to leave Aba by 3 p.m. We'll still be carrying passengers free of charge for the next 1 week. By Tuesday next week, the commercial operation will kick in. And we'll do that for 1 month. And after 1 month, we'll increase the number of services from 2 to Port Harcourt and 2 return from Aba.
Okay, are these locomotives and coaches refurbished or newly acquired?
The prices are that the business class is 1,005 and the standard coach will go at 800 naira.
All right, Mr. Ohiria, if you can hear me clearly, the coaches and the locomotives, are they refurbished or they are newly acquired?
Used now are refurbished, but we are expecting some new coaches and locomotives. But the government can't just hold their hand when the track is ready and not do something about it. There are 15 narrow gauge locomotives have been ordered and 100 coaches has also been ordered. We are expecting them from the supplier in China. So in order not so that we can just not wait so that people can get the benefit of the track that have been laid, we have to refurbish these present coaches and deploy them.
So how long will the next major town or state wait to be linked on that corridor?
As they continue to put the Aba Port Harcourt into perfect condition, you know, it's not just one. All the stations are, new stations have to come in Port Harcourt and Aba. The track lane and from Aba to Mahia and Port Harcourt is not going to stop. They are going to continue that process of laying the track. They have already removed the old track and started formation on them. So they will continue, and the government will continue to put pressure on the contractor to continue and ensure that probably before the end of the year we will have some light at Umuahia and close to Enugu. You know, the last time we came here at the end of March, we monitored the work from Port Harcourt to Enugu. Visited the brick, that's the concrete sleepers manufacturing site in Ebonyi.
So let's talk about the time frame. What is the targeted time of completion for the entire corridor?
The 2,000 plus kilometer of track is to be done by 36 months. But there's been an issue with funding, which the present government is working hard to ensure the fund is gotten. And once that is secured, because what we have done so far is what the federal government of Nigeria has provided, while the contractor is to source the counterpart funding. I think they are at advanced stage now, sooner or later to be completed. And once there is funds, the job and we will go on simultaneously from here, from the present situation where we are to Maduguri. It will be segmented and work will continue and progress simultaneously, hopefully.
All right, truck vandalism is a problem in this particular transportation sector. What security measures are in place to put an end to this ugly trend?
What the major thing we know is that when we operate regularly, there will not be room for vandalization. We are trying to ensure that we occupy the track. And apart from that, the police and the civil defense have been encouraged to ensure that they do also assist us to ensure that not just rape infrastructure, but government infrastructure, so that those that are engaged in vandalization of track and other infrastructure should be properly dealt with as laid down by law. That is the only way. For instance, you catch a vandal today without apprehending his principal, the main benefactor, we are not going to anywhere. That's what we have been preaching, that when you catch a truck loaded with rail, you should be able to find out where they were taken into, who loaded it, and not until you get those people arrested, the vandals will not stop because they still have market. So the only way to stop them is to ensure those people that are encouraging them are apprehended, and the law should take its course to make sure that they are brought to book and the full weight of the law is brought upon them. Because in our act, even crossing the track is taken as felony, and it should be treated like that. To talk of removing a rail or clips or slippers, so I think the law should be properly enforced. And we are telling our police, the commissioner of police and the commandant railway police, that government has attached to us to ensure that these laws are properly charged with our legal team.
Fidet Ohiria, Managing Director, Nigeria Railway Corporation, we want to thank you so much for your time on the news. Thank you. We do appreciate your time.
Would your dreams be on hold?
Thank you. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you. I wish Nigerian well, and they should protect government property so we can enjoy the benefit of what the government is doing. Thank you, and God bless you.
Moving on, President Bola Tinubu congratulates Emeritus Professor Ayo Banjo, an academic par excellence, on the occasion of his 90th birthday. Professor Banjo is well known for his contributions to the development of the English language curriculum in Nigeria and the promotion of Nigerian varieties of English. A former chairman of the board of National Universities Commission and was pro-chancellor of the universities of Port Harcourt, Ilorin and Ajay-Crowther. His scholarly output includes over 50 publications as well as widely used textbooks in primary and secondary education. The president celebrates the former vice-chancellor of the University of Ibadan for his remarkable contributions to the development of education in Nigeria, while wishing him good health and many more years filled with joy. And it's time to take a pause here. Let's join Adeola in Lagos for more reports. Over to you, Adeola.
Elizabeth. Complex forms of evolving threats globally have made nations' security outfits strategize to effectively and efficiently combat such threats. This, the Nigerian Army is constantly undertaking to train logisticians with modern techniques and tools. Our correspondent reports that the only College of Logistics and Management in Africa is currently training officers in the Senior Leadership and Staff Officers Course 2 2024 at Ojo, Lagos, to become think tanks in their respective corps.
By the power conferred on me as the commandant hereby inaugurate the Senior Leadership and Staff Officers Course 2 of 2024.
The commandant of the college, Major General Wisdom Etuk, said the course is a deliberate process to enhance and fulfill the command philosophy of the Chief of Army Staff at transforming the Nigerian Army into a well-equipped and highly motivated force that will achieve constitutional responsibility within joint operating environment. The inaugural lecture, titled "The Making of an Effective Leader and Staff Officer for Joint Operating Environment," presented by the 15th Commandant of the college, listed some attributes of operational level officers, expectations and limitations of the system on staff-trained officers.
These are a set of officers that before now they joined the army as purely professionals. So they had no privilege to be trained on Nigerian Army conventions, in the way we write, the way we act, and then on leadership. So in addition to their competence as lawyers, as dentists, as doctors, as engineers, and all the professionals, they now have additional capacity or skills to effectively function in the military.
Logistics and professional partners of the Nigerian Army speak on the importance of the course.
Insecurity, criminality in the world today has taken a new dimension. And therefore, if you want to be able to deal with it and curb it, of course, you have to be a step ahead of the criminals themselves.
So this course is very, very important to study the logistics of movement, both their own and the counter logistics for the bandit.
105 direct regular commission officers and 1 allied student from the Gambia will for the next 36 weeks undergo intensive training to enable them protect the nation's territorial integrity and secure the borders from violations on land, maritime, air, cyber and space.
Industry players are drawing attention to the importance of seeking the interest of those at the receiving end by sustaining customers' confidence in the banking sector. The plea came to the fore following the new directive to banks by the Central Bank of Nigeria to increase minimum capital requirement for various levels of authorized licenses. Amakawo reports.
Lagos is generally referred to as the commercial nerve of the nation, and specifically the banking hub of Nigeria, with most bank head offices located within the city, as major activities that shape the sector takes place within the former nation's capital. The city also hosts a huge banking population, with expectations of stability in the sector, in spite of the anticipated uncertainties occasioned by the process of recapitalization of banks.
CBN should ensure that the capitalization process or the recapitalization process does not cause any major disruption. So the banking system, it doesn't cause loss of confidence in the banking system. It doesn't, as much as possible, lead to loss of jobs and also loss of shareholders' investment. So there is no cause for alarm, but that reassurance has to come from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Considering that the banking industry really has no borders, it's an international industry. Your capacity has to be benchmarked against other banks in the world.
Options for the commercial banks are that they meet up with this new minimum capital requirements within the 24 months, or explore other options of either involvement in merger and acquisitions.
Industry players express optimism that the banks have the capacity to meet the recapitalization exercise expected to be actualized within the 24-month window period, adding that the move will increase liquidity in the banking sector, strengthen the financial system, and above all is in line with the federal government's target of building a 1 trillion naira economy by year 2030. In Lagos, Amaka Owo, NTA News.
And those are the reports from Lagos. Benny Adams is waiting to conduct more business with you. So, Benny, it's over to you.
How good to know you're still here.
The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation is familiarizing accounting officers in all MDAs on the contents of the revised cash management operational guidelines. Tokpe Alabi reports that this was at a one-day interactive session in Abuja, where the Accountant General of the Federation, Dr. Oluwatoyin Madeyin, wants officers to take necessary steps for smooth implementation of the policy.
It's just a step up from what is happening currently, where the approvals and everything will be done in files. Then you upload all those approvals into the cash plan system, and the cash plans of all the MDAs on monthly basis are collated, and warrants are signed by the Honorable Minister of Finance, which now leads to release of funds for payment.
Speakers at the just concluded Special World Economic Forum in Riyadh agree that the African continent is in need of more transfer of technology, more foreign direct investment, more capacity building for the continent's economies to become resilient and agile to external shocks. This was as issues being inclusive growth catalyzing action on energy and development with special focus on Africa were topical. In response, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says subsidy had to go to prevent Nigeria from bankruptcy, of which many Nigerians believe the present administration has bold vision that meets ambitious action. Here are some of the resolutions.
Growth, yes, 3.2% for this year, but really weak by historical standards.
We need to focus on the tools, the interventions that will help us grow productivity.
We have invested in education, in health, and above all, technology has been a focus for us.
And on Nigerian stock market, investors gained 195.65 billion naira as the all-share index advanced by 0.35% to close at 98,225.63 basis points. Total volume traded advanced by 99.18% to close at 552.21 million, valued at 14.92 billion naira, and traded in 9,350 deals. GTCO was the most traded stock by volume and value, with 245.46 million and 7.95 billion units traded. At the close of trading, the market recorded 28 gainers, 18 losers, and 81 equities remained unchanged. That is business news. The news continues with Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Benny. Gender strategy for the mining and steel sectors and the Women in Mining in Nigeria strategy have been unveiled by the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake. The two strategic documents focus on 8 key areas, including action against women abuse and gender biases, as well as active women participation.
Sustainable development, empowering women in mining in Nigeria, ensuring that women in mining are also in the leadership positions, even in the governance structures, to ensure sustainability of the sector. These are some of the 8-point agenda for women in mining, for strengthening women in mining in Nigeria, and we are pursuing it. And like I said, the Solid Minerals Ministry is a testament to the advancement of women, to the empowerment of women in mining in Nigeria.
The document has also taken into consideration is that there should be focal officers in all departments and agencies of the ministry, and we expect that the private sector should also emulate that to ensure that women issues are promptly addressed before it escalates.
Let's take our last break to stay with us. President Bola Tinubu extends his deepest sympathies to victims of the gas explosion at Itaoshin, Abeokuta North local government area of Ogun State. The explosion from a solitary gas truck rippled through the community, resulting in the loss of lives and property. In a condolence message, the president also sympathizes with the Ogun State government and residents of the state over this tragedy. President Tinubu commends Governor Dakpo Abiodun on his valiant efforts to arrest the situation, restoring peace to the community as well. The president assures the people of Ogun State, particularly victims of the incident, of his fervent support in this moment of grief. And that's the news. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Do have an awesome night rest.